Okay, so here we go in starting the second part of Module 5 in discovering the dual control model of arousal and desire. And so we are going to be talking about our brake pedal and our gas pedal. These concepts have abundant amounts of offerings for us as far as understanding how we work as well as understanding how our partner works. So the lesson outline is here. First, we'll discover what is the dual control model of arousal and desire, what is the gas pedal, and what is the brake pedal. And then we will learn how to manage brakes. I have a spoiler alert about your brakes. It's going to be some stuff about self-regulation, right? So here we go again. Okay, so let's start off here with the dual control model. What is it? In the book that I referenced in the first half of this module, the Come As You Are text by Emily Nagoski, she talks about her research around the dual control model. And again, like many things we've talked about, it's all about balance. Balancing out both our brakes, our sexual inhibition, as well as our gas, our sexual excitation, right? And so under the concept of brakes, these are all of the things that are reasons not to have sex, reasons not to feel into the process, reasons to move away from it, our sexual inhibition, right? So our brakes can be made up of stress, relationship issues, body image, general stimulation, sensory experience that's overwhelming or negative, something that we're not enjoying. And we can either have a kind of a handbrake, which is the low level off, 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 or we can have a foot brake, an acute turnoff, a smell, a touch, an experience, a relational moment of irritation. Things like that are all part of what hit our brakes. Then we have our gas pedal, our sexual excitation system. And so all the things within the gas realm are all the reasons to, all the things that turn our attention towards sexuality, and it identifies something as sexually relevant. Excitement, right? Everybody's got different gas pedal exciters, right? So some people it could be excitement, some people it could be safety, some people it could be novelty, some people it could be familiarity. For some, it might be taboo items. It just depends on how you're wired. This is going back to context. Context is learned, not innate. And so whatever hits your gas is specific and unique to you and your life of experience living in your body. Right? So the gas pedal are all of the items that are sexually relevant. They turn our attention toward our physical body in a desiring or arousing way. So some things, some categories that tend to fall within the gas pedal area are love and emotional bonding cues, visual proximity cues, meaning being close to an opportunity, being close to a partner who has some attractiveness and having the option to be intimate with them, as well as romantic or implicit cues, things that are implying, reflecting, innuendo, things like that. So the goal is that we learn about our gas and we learn about our brakes, and we figure out how to release our brakes when we want to, how to hit our gas when we want to, and get them balanced. Okay, I want you to get out your journaling material to take some notes on this. First, we are going to work on understanding the level of sensitivity of your brakes. I'm going to ask a few questions, make a few statements, and I want you to think about these. Unless things are just right, it is difficult for me to become sexually aroused. Think about that if that's not at all like you or very much like you. When you're sexually aroused, the slightest thing can turn me off. Not at all like you, very much like you. I have to trust a partner fully to become aroused. Not at all like you, very much like you. If I'm worried about taking too long to become aroused or to orgasm, this can interfere with my arousal. Not at all like me, very much like me. Sometimes I feel so shy or self-conscious during sex that I cannot become fully aroused. Not at all like you, very much like you. Okay, so if those things were very much like you, chances are you have high sensitivity breaks. That means it doesn't take much. A feather could drop and your brakes would get hit. That's okay. You're normal, you're perfect. If you said all of those things, nope, not at all. None of them are really like me. You probably have low sensitivity breaks. It would take a brick to make your brakes get tapped even. That's great. You're normal, you're perfect, you're lovely. If they were some of those, kind of, some of them not so much, then you're probably medium sensitivity. Again, perfect, normal, you're great. The goal is not, none of these are the right answer. The idea is just to understand how sensitive your brakes are. Now we'll start looking at the level of sensitivity of your gas pedal. We're going to go through the same process, some questions, okay? Get your journal out and get ready. Often, just how someone smells can be a turn on. Not at all like you, very much like you. Seeing my partner doing something that shows their talent or intelligence, or watching them interacting well with others, can make me very sexually aroused. Not at all like you, very much like you. Having sex in a different setting than usual is a real turn on for me. Not at all like you, very much like you. When I think about someone I find sexually attractive, or when I fantasize about sex, I easily become sexually aroused. Not at all like you, very much like you. Last one. Certain hormonal changes, like, say, my menstrual cycle, definitely increase my sexual arousal. Not at all like you, very much like you. Okay, so same thing. If you have a lot of them, not at all like me, not very much like me, you probably have low sensitivity gas. What that means is it takes a lot of effort. That would take a brick to hit the gas pedal to really make it do anything. Low sensitivity gas. If a lot of them were very much like me, you probably have high sensitivity gas. It doesn't take much to hit your gas pedal and to have you experiencing desire. And then again, in the middle, some of them kind of, some of them not so much. You're probably a medium sensitivity gas. And so that means that sometimes it doesn't take much and sometimes it takes a lot in order to hit your gas for you to feel desire and to feel aroused. Okay, so with those answers, those are going to go on your homework because that's definitely something that would be really helpful to discuss. If we have one partner who has high sensitivity brakes, meaning it doesn't take much to ignite their brakes slamming down, and they have low sensitivity gas, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of different components added together in order to get the gas pedal going. That combination is going to show up pretty different than if one partner has, say, low sensitivity brakes. It doesn't really matter what you throw at it. You can throw stress, you can throw stimulation, you can add frustration, you can throw relationship distress. It really doesn't matter. Their brakes are very difficult to ignite, and then they have high sensitivity gas. They can smell something, they can taste something, they can touch something, and instantly their thoughts are even to spontaneous desire. Pow, I want some sex. That combination, low sensitivity brakes, high sensitivity gas, you could understand how that would show up pretty different. The thing is that those two people are often married to each other. And so we know that discussing these and understanding how we're set up is so helpful, so that when it comes to our physical life together, we are working very hard to, one, not take things personal, as well as to, when our partner is set up pretty different from us, making sure to not attribute those differences to character flaws, but to understanding that there are simply a lot of options for the way people experience desire in their life, and that the variety is fantastic. So let's learn now about context. We talked a bit about that in the first half of the module, right? That context is learned through experience. And so it's not innate, but that it is something that is learned. And we'll understand it here as a blend of two things. A blend of your internal brain state, meaning your mood. So this means anxiety, depression, irritability, contentedness, feeling peaceful, right? And so all of the different ways that our brain can be kind of experiencing our emotional sensation right then. So our mood and our external circumstances. So all of the different stressors that may be weighing on us and impacting us. So context then is a blend of these two things, right? So our mood as well as our stressors. And so something that we'll be talking about and also discovering through our homework is what are some sexy and what are some not so sexy contexts? What are some blends that make for a good setting for you? In general, these are some descriptors for that people would describe in sexy context. A setting in which it is easy to feel desire, arousal is not obstructed, right? So sexy contexts tend to include low stress, emotionally satisfying and safe, and kind of explicitly or specifically erotic, specifically dealing with sex and sexuality. Now, I will say that there are some people that have a setup where they respond a little bit differently to stress, meaning that stress actually hits their gas. If you're a person who has maybe several different pieces of difficult things going on at work as well as family items, and when you find yourself being stressed, you think, man, having sex would really make me feel better right now, then you might want to look at this list a little bit differently. But in general, low stress and emotionally satisfying tend to be a combination for sexy context. And then when we are thinking about the not so sexy context, basically we're just thinking of kind of the opposite, as well as trauma. That's something that we would include also in the not so sexy context. If something is triggering historic trauma that has not been digested, then that may be an unhelpful context for you. So after understanding our context, the kind of helpful and supportive as well as not so helpful and supportive context, let's talk about how to manage your breaks. So first one is, I know, reduce stress. Most people are like, how do I reduce stress? This is not the setup of my life. I have a job, I have children, I have in-laws, all of these things that are difficult to manage. But one of the things that can be really helpful for one partner is often carrying a larger part of the mental load, meaning understanding and coordinating what all is going on in the home. That can be a very helpful thing to begin to share that understanding with your partner. And just in general, whatever you can do to reduce your stress, being affectionate towards your body, loving, if you did the practice of kind of pointing out the things that you appreciate about your body in the mirror, that can be towards that goal. Letting go of false ideas of how sex is supposed to go. Whatever you've seen in the movies, whatever you've seen on porn, whatever your friends have told you about their sex lives, whatever you learned in high school, right? That these are often very unhelpful and unrealistic ideas of what's supposed to be happening, and letting go of those ideas can be a real gift for your actual real life relationship. And then in that, creating space for how you work. Not how anybody else works, but how you work. Knowing that you are unique and you're just right. So here's a life goal: to make room for you in your sex life and to understand the gifts that you come to your physical relationship with and all the variety and diversity that comes with that. Okay, so also as far as managing breaks, we're going to be talking about this idea of completing the stress cycle. So remember back to Module 1 when I talk about animals having their stress shake, their ability to kind of slough off their extra intensity after a stressful situation, and how we have to do that through self-regulation. The idea is the same here. We experience this thing called the stress cycle when we come into stressful situations. Traffic, stimulating interaction with our children, difficulty with a coworker, whatever that is. We experience a dose of adrenaline or cortisol, our stress hormone, and it starts the stress cycle. But often it kind of stops there. We don't do anything in order to release some of that stress. And so if you imagine a kind of a circle in your head, you kind of get a dose of stress and a dose of stress and a dose of stress. You can kind of start seeing how a bottleneck would develop if you weren't pushing that stress all the way through its cycle to its completion. And so one of the things that can activate our brakes is just kind of backlogged stress cycles. And so here's a list of ways we can on purpose intentionally kind of put some Drano through our body in order to push through some of the stress cycles that have been kind of backed up. Physical activity, intense physical activity, push-ups until exhaustion, doing sprints, heavy squats, ways to really exhaust our body, sharing affection, long, deep hugs with a partner, scream into a pillow, cry, watch a sad movie, listen to a sad song on purpose to bring yourself to that place of crying really hard. You'll notice at the end of a good cry, you can notice this with kiddos too, at the end of it they go, and you can just see their whole body relax. They're getting the completion of that stress cycle, and they tend to be ready for hugs after that. We do too, after we've had a good cry. So we can pursue those if we're feeling like our brakes are just laying on the floor. Meditation or muscle relaxation, you can pull up your Calm app or Insight Timer app on your phone and use that to walk you through a guided meditation or muscle relaxation process. Body self-care, also a great way to complete the stress cycle. Painting your nails, taking a long hot bath, fixing your hair, doing your makeup for no reason at all. Body self-care can be a way to kind of get your mind out of that stress response, clicked over into that being ready to be calm and connected. The interesting thing about breaks when they are engaged is that they often mimic the chronic anxiety patterns that we discussed a few modules back. So you'll see here how 3 of the different chronic anxiety patterns are listed. And what starts out at the beginning of the stress cycle, you'll see fight as listed as I am at risk, and flight, I am broken, this desire to get away. Freeze, I'm lost, I kind of can't find my footing. And then all 3 of those places you also see action right after that statement. That action would be one of the items from completing the stress cycle. And if you are in that chronic anxiety pattern of fight and you've had that I am at risk experience, if you will move yourself through the stress cycle, you'll end up experiencing something like I am safe. If you're in that I am broken, there's something wrong with me, that shame place, after taking an action, you often will move to the experience of, I am whole. And then with freeze, starting off with that feeling lost of just kind of not being able to find your footing. After taking an action to complete your stress cycle, you may have the thought or the feeling of, I am home. You can see how those I am safe, I am whole, I am home are very much close to those sexy context components, how they would draw you into feeling connected to your partner. So valuable. Okay, I know one last time well, not one last time in the whole program, but one last time for this video, you're gonna hear about self-regulation. Because as you can hear through all these pieces, in order to manage your breaks, self-regulation is a huge factor in that. And so I'll describe this process of figuring out what your needs are, collaborating with others to get those met, and then get those needs met, right? Whether it's collaboration with others or through your own self, calming yourself down is an incredibly valuable component of feeling connected to your own body as well as feeling connected to your partner. The goal is to start off in this process understanding how you are built. And then from that position of taking responsibility for your own self and understanding yourself, then you get to take some of this information to your partner. The goal in talking with your partner is to talk about yourself. There may be pieces of feedback that you may end up offering, but I want the primary place that you're coming from is to be speaking about yourself. I want you to be paying attention to two different traits, maturity as well as humility, working to come from your most mature self as well as being open to learning something that might be a little bit difficult to learn about your own self, something that doesn't feel all too flattering to you. In this conversation about what you've both learned from this recording, I want you to work to come from a vulnerable posture, meaning to talk openly and honestly about yourself and understanding that from an open place of not hiding. I want you to be thinking about processing your own grief. When I say grief, what I'm talking about is the gap between what it is that is and what it is that you wish it were. Anytime there's a gap, it doesn't matter if it was that you ordered a certain drink from Starbucks and then they got it wrong, right? There's some mild grief there, all the way up to capital G grief. But the idea is that if it's a piece of relationship to your own body, a piece of relationship to your partner, if there's something that you are wanting and you're realizing that that is not what is available currently, the hope is that you are processing and digesting the gap and the disappointment between those two things so that it doesn't turn into resentment with your partner. And then I want you to find your stamina muscles. I want you to be accessing your meaningful endurance. This process of reworking and recalibrating your sexual life together can really be a process. And it takes some starting and some stopping and some failed attempts, some movements toward one another that you may end up feeling rejected and disappointed by. And so the process of reworking your sexual life really requires endurance. And so I offer that to normalize it and to give you hope that it's not always easy. And I would say that if it's really going to be worth it and if it's really going to be good, then it's going to require some hard work. All right, well, you have arrived at the end of Module 5. Let's have a look at your homework. I want you to be continuing to work on your self-regulation behaviors, adding new ones every week, every module. I want you to reflect on spontaneous and responsive desire. Which one do you tend to experience more? More spontaneous, more responsive? And note that. I want you to check back on your journal from this module and to document what's your sensitivity level for your brakes, what's your sensitivity level for your gas, high, medium, and low, as well as some examples of, for you, what's a sexy context, good, helpful, supportive, encouraging, warm context versus not so sexy context. Items from both your mood as well as external circumstances that end up not being a good fit for you. And so I want you to be talking through these things on your date night. What hits your brakes? How did you complete your stress cycle? And what did you learn about context? And sharing those in those connecting conversations when you're spending time together this week. All right, guys, I will see you next time.